right, Darlene, welcome to Treasures of Worthington. Thanks for sitting down with us for a little bit.
Thank you for asking me.
Well, we're kind of coming, this interview is coming at a time when you are really transitioning your life. You're moving out of Worthington.
We are. My husband and I made the difficult decision to purchase a home up in Moorhead, where our son and his family are living. They've been after us ever since we had retired to come up that way. And so we finally bit the bullet and we're doing it.
Well, we're going to miss you, but let's talk about your time here in Worthington. But we'll circle back to that. How about let's start at the beginning. Talk about where you were born, your background.
I was born in Blue Earth, which is just 75 miles straight east of here. Born and raised there, graduated from high school there. Got married when I was 21 years old. Moved up to Boston, Minnesota, if you know where that's at. That's way up north.
I do know where that's at.
And we went from Boston back to Blue Earth, to Waseca, and then to Sioux Falls. And Sioux Falls is when I came here and had gotten the job at the Chamber of Commerce as their bookkeeper.
Well, talk about that, because you didn't end up the bookkeeper. Let's talk about the start of your job with
You know,
the
I
Chamber.
did not, and I'll just talk a little personally about me. When I came from Sioux Falls, I was actually going through a divorce. My son wasn't even born at that time. I was pregnant, and my brother, Leon Werner, who had lived here at the time, thought that his little sister needed to get closer to him. He just felt, like I was going to need help. I kind of bucked that too. I really didn't want to move out of Sioux Falls. But my son was born in Sioux Falls, and then I moved here to Worthington when he was 4 months old. So it was very easy for me to remember how long I've been in Worthington. He'll be 43 in December. So I've been here for 42 years.
Wow. So a big chunk of your life,
a big chunk of my life. And I interviewed at 2 different places here in Worthington and ended up with the bookkeeper at the Chamber of Commerce.
So tell me about the early days of your job. So that was in what year? I can't do that.
That was in 1982.
1982.
Yes.
So what was going on in the chamber in 1982?
You know, it's funny. I didn't know a lot about a chamber when I interviewed there, but I knew how to do books, and that's what they were looking for. And so at that time, there was like a farm crisis going on.
Right.
And so Larry Haugen was the one that had hired me, and he was a very good mentor for me going through the different years of the Chamber of Commerce. But at that time, it was difficult. We saw a lot of businesses on 10th Street close. We saw farmers either had to, consolidate or actually quit farming also. So it was a difficult time.
Yes, that was.
Yeah.
How long did you do the bookkeeping? Kind of take me through that.
I only did the books. Well, I went to 3 different locations for the chamber. When I was hired, it was 3rd Avenue.
Okay.
They were in the Hotel Thompson on the
didn't know
side
that.
street.
Okay.
That's where we started out. And then about 3 years into that, we moved over to 4th Street, where Dennis Rick has his office.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's when we purchased a building back on 3rd Street, down the street from the Daily Globe at that time.
So how did you come through the ranks and get to talk about that?
Well, that was interesting. Larry Haugen stayed for about 4 years when I was here, approximately. I don't quite remember. Mm-hmm. He stayed here, and then they hired a new director. His name was Ed Clark. And Ed also was a very good mentor for me. He would take me to different conferences and really introduce me to the Chamber of Commerce world. And so after he left unexpectedly, they were searching again for a director and actually had asked me to apply at that time. Chamber was in my blood by then.
Oh, sure.
I loved it.
Awesome.
And so I had gotten, after Larry Haugen had quit the job, he went over to Austin right during the strike. So that was a difficult time for him.
Sure.
But during that time, I was always interim director.
Sure.
And so once Ed Clark was no longer with us anymore, then they had asked me to apply for the position.
What year was that?
That was in 1989.
1989.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is when that happened.
So what What did you find exciting? You said it was in your blood. Tell me about what you found exciting about the chamber.
The chamber world is something different every single day. And I just loved coming up with new ideas, new promotions for the businesses. And I just love trying to help business. You know, we're just not all about promotions. We're about legislative issues. We work with the legislators. You know, we do tourism, we do promotions, we help with workforce development. It was just such a wide variety of things that we did, and they still do. And that every single day was different. So you never knew when you walked in that morning, you knew what you thought you were going to do. But it always ended up changing.
Yeah.
You know, and I love the volunteers. It was so much fun to work with the different volunteers. At that time, the chamber was striving. We had a good group of volunteers. We had the highest number of chamber businesses in the organization. It was just a great time to be in the field.
When you talk about the farm crisis, I'm sure throughout your time as at the chamber, you went through other changes or challenges. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I was here when the Northland Mall was built. I wasn't the director at that time. That was still under Larry Haugen. That was when J.C. Penney's left the downtown, moved out to the mall, which that was a big deal for the downtown businesses because J.C. Penney's drew a lot of people. But you know what? It was a little bit scary at that time for the downtown businesses, but it ended up that with the new mall and the new stores that came in, it drew people into the community. We became a regional shopping center. And so the city was just buzzing. And that was just fun too, to see, you know, people come and go. And yeah, it was just a great time.
Talk about the change in the demographic with the influx of the Hispanic community and things like that. How did that change things for you?
Bob Damas Sr. was our mayor at that time, who did an incredible job. If you know Bob, he was a very distinguished individual, knew how to present himself and how to promote the community. He was the one that called a group of people together, and I want to say it was 1992, but I'm not quite sure on the dates. But he called a group of people together to talk about there's going to be this influx of new people coming into our community. They are different from us, different color of skin, different languages, and how are we going to welcome them into our community to make them feel welcome? And so that was an interesting time too. We brought these people in, tried to communicate with them. It's amazing what you can do with your hands in trying to communicate.
Good thing I talk with mine a lot.
Yeah, it all works out really well. But you know, it seemed to be a smooth transition,
right.
I felt, especially for the business community, because businesses at that time, you know, they wanted to learn Spanish so that they could speak to the people. We did educational seminars with Lee Lucht, who was a Spanish teacher out at the Minnesota West.
Right.
She did some quick Spanish lessons, you know, the basics on Spanish, the beginning Spanish. And a lot of businesses took that course. And that helped a little bit. At least they could speak a few, you know, of the words to communicate. But, you know, at that time, too, housing, trying to find housing for them was another issue. It seems like the entire time that I was a chamber director, we always had shortages of housing. And the city's really come around now and have built some nice, you know, apartments and homes for people. But, yeah, that was a struggle then. We were trying to, you know, so it started out as Armours when I came to town.
Okay.
And then it changed. I'm going to be wrong on some of these names, I'm sure. It changed to Swift.
Right.
And now it's JBS. And so they were very instrumental too when they brought in the various cultures into our community to let us know what they needed too on behalf of the citizens.
And now, and I don't know, when you go down the street, down Main Street or down 10th Street and downtown, there's a lot of different businesses owned by different cultures.
You know, it's bustling downtown now. Trying to find a place for someone to open a business is very difficult. You know, and we were one of the leaders in our state of Minnesota by having the number of minorities that moved into our community. So with that, I would do presentations when I would go to like state conferences or Mid-America Chambers, on just what did you do to help these people as you moved in, because we were looked at as a community who was doing it right. And I have to give that credit to Bob Damath. He made sure that that happened.
We were recognized nationally,
Right.
right?
Right.
In the New York Times, I believe.
Wall Street Journal. I did so many interviews with different publications, on a national basis. That's right.
What were some of the other, throughout the years, changes in the community or societal changes that you noticed that affected the community and things like that?
Well, from the new people moving into our community, that's how the International Festival became about.
Right.
Everyone was interested in showcasing the different cultures, and so that was one of the events that started. And I can't take the credit for that because Barney Bishop and his wife Barb was very instrumental in that, along with Leanne Enengay. So they really started it. They held it out at the middle school.
Is that where it started?
That's where it started.
Okay. I didn't know
And
that.
then after a couple years, they brought it into the downtown. And it's still good. You got the different flavors of food vendors that come to that one, the different flavors of the entertainment. And the sad thing is we don't get a large crowd for it yet. And I still hope over the years we get a larger crowd than it has been in the past.
Right. Speaking of festivals, I was on the Turkey Day board, so I know the tireless effort that Turkey Day week and all the time leading up to it, all the work that you at the Chamber put in. Talk about that.
You know what? That was one of the best things about my job was Turkey Day. I love Turkey Day. And it just doesn't happen and then the board goes away for a year and comes back. That's a year-long commitment that the boards are making for that and to organize the different activities for that. And so I was fortunate to be on the race team back in 1989-90.
Okay.
Which is incredible too because you make such nice friends with the Coral, Texas delegation. So that was always nice. The race started in 1973, way before me. Who would have thought that two turkeys brought two communities together like that?
Right.
Pretty incredible, and it's still going on. We had other communities when I was working, like Wilmer and I think it was Fergus Falls. They claimed to be the turkey capital of the world too. And Wilmer, because they raised so many turkeys. They wanted to get in on the race, but both Coral, Texas and Worthington said, no, this is something special that we have going, and it's not to bring more Minnesota communities together. We need to keep this separately. You know what? And that brought national attention to us. I remember one day sitting in the chamber office and I got a call from Nickelodeon. They wanted two people, one from Worthington, one from Coral, to come to their studio and do an actual turkey race. And we got it, it happened.
It happened. Who was it?
So
Talk about that.
We had, I contacted Judy Eakin. I think Shelby, their daughter, did it. And then Kay Lapp from Coral, her daughter did it.
Okay.
And so they went, and I want to say they went to California, but I'm not sure on that. But or maybe it was even Florida.
Okay.
But they went and did that turkey race, and it was aired on national TV.
I did not, that's something I did not know.
Yeah, that was just incredible.
That's awesome.
So you never know what's going to happen. And we had such good speakers over the years too. When we had political speakers, I thought that was, really great because we had people here like Jesse Jackson. When would I be able to meet Jesse Jackson?
Exactly. Right.
I went.
Right.
Was able to meet him. The senator that was on Love Boat, Gopher, if you remember him.
I do. He's an Iowa senator. Yes.
Oh, yes, you should.
Yeah.
He was here. Well, he was a senator, but everybody looked at him as Gopher from Love Boat. And so we just had so many incredible speakers come. Hubert Humphrey came every single year he would be here. Right. And when he passed away, his son started coming here for a while. And so it's just been terrific. We've now gotten away from political speakers, and they bring in other celebrities like Holly Hoffman, who was on Survivor. She was an important one. We did I was lucky to get involved in the honor flight too. And so we brought in the person who started the whole honor flight. He was our speaker one year, and we had the World War II veterans as our parade marshals. So this job just gave me an opportunity of things to do that I would never have been able to do if I wasn't at the Chamber of Commerce. And I hope I did it well. I tried. I lived and breathed for that.
Oh,
so I hope I did well
did.
by the community.
Let's talk about 2001 on Turkey Day. That was, well, wow. Talk about that and how you handled all that with the 9/11.
I remember that day well too. Cammie Lease was the president. Were you on the board at that time? Dave was on the board. Mm-hmm. And we were looking at not holding Turkey Day when because it happened right before.
I think we went to the Mixer on Monday night, and then
Tuesday. It happened.
It happened.
And, you know, people were afraid to fly. So the delegation from Quirrell, they actually drove up that year.
That's right.
And we went through a time where we were talking on the board, do we even hold it? Because of so many people being killed, is it even something that we should be celebrating Turkey Day? But after a long discussion, we did decide that, yes, we need to move forward. You know, we had a moment of silence on the stage for those who had lost loved ones. And so it had an impact, even on our community, even though we're sitting here in Minnesota. It had an impact on us.
I remember it was kind of a somber.
It was.
It was the whole tone of everything was different.
Very much, yes.
Anything else that you want to talk about as highlights of your career at the Chamber?
Well, I just want to stick with Turkey Day for a little bit.
Yes, sure.
In all of my years that I was the director, only one time did we have to postpone the parade. And we only postponed it from 2 o'clock. After we postponed it, the sun came out later in the day. We had it at 5 o'clock.
I remember
and, you know,
that day.
The people still came down for it.
Yeah.
So that's how much people really like Turkey Day too.
It really brings the community together.
It really does. You know, and another thing I'm proud of and is the windsurfing regatta. You know, when two people, Bill Keitel, Jeff Hager, came up with the idea, they came to me. We were trying to figure out how we could get this funded because they actually wanted to hold the nationals here.
Right.
So we didn't know financially, you know, it was going to take a lot of money because what they had wanted to do was to go down to Florida, talk to the windsurfers, talk to the officers of the National Windsurfing Regatta Organization, and we didn't know how we were going to pay for those flights. So we went and talked to Dennis Hall and Joni Harms at the Globe. If it had not been for them, they funded the first few years of the regatta.
I do remember that.
Yes. And so we sent Hannah Keitel down because we thought she was younger. She could speak to the younger windsurfers. Sent Bill Keitel down and Jeff Hager. And lo and behold, it came to Worthington. It was remarkable.
I remember.
You know, and there was a lot of work that people don't know that goes into that. So this was going to be a new organization.
Right.
You know, we didn't know if we should bring it under the chamber, if they should be their own nonprofit.
Right.
We decided the best way to do it would to have it be its own nonprofit, just like King Turkey Day. It'd have its own budget. It would have its own board of directors. And Kelly, your husband Dave, was very instrumental. He was the one that was able to do our articles of incorporation. He did our bylaws for us. He worked with the state in us becoming a nonprofit. Without those three guys, the regatta probably would not have been here. And without the support of the Globe and the chamber.
Absolutely.
Because the chamber board said, do whatever you have to do, Darlene, to make this go. And that's what we did.
The community gets behind this. The community, I have found, certainly in the last 6 months, how wonderful this community can be.
Right.
And they really get behind this and got behind the regatta.
Right.
And now here in another week or 2 weeks, we'll be celebrating again.
Look how big it has gotten. We went from unvarnished music to varnished. I mean, that was a big thing.
Right.
You know, because Bill is all about the unvarnished music.
Right.
Which is a little bit different from the music quite a bit different from the music that we have now. But I think he's proud to see what it has grown into too. It's remarkable. The one thing that's a struggle, and I can see how that happens, it's a pretty expensive sport.
Yes.
The younger ones are not getting into it. So we're seeing less windsurfers. And somehow, I just talked with the chamber about that. Somehow, for next year, which is going to be 25 years, they have to find out who are the windsurfers. How can we get more of the windsurfers back?
Right.
And so I suggested that they sit down and talk with Jeff and Bill to see how that can happen. Because 25 years, we want a lot of windsurfers.
Kind of go back to the roots a little bit.
Exactly.
And see if they can
right.
bring that back.
Right. But it's an all new board of directors. It's a young board of directors.
Yeah.
They have young ideas. They're committed to it just like, we were in the very beginning. So it's good to see, and it has grown so much.
And it's just a wonderful event.
It is. You just feel good being down at the lake, just, maybe having a beer, listening to the music. There's kids' crafts going. All the good food, it's really turned into a very nice event.
And the lake is, that is an asset in this town, beyond
That is right.
belief.
I'm still surprised how many people do not know we have a lake in town. It doesn't matter how much we promote it, how much, you put it in the visitor guide on the
Sure.
front page. It doesn't matter. There's still people out there that still don't know that we have a lake. So, and someday I'm hoping to get, I'm hoping that the city, and it's been talked about, that maybe, they can have a restaurant or something on that. That's been in the talk, and I think that would really be good if you could.
Yeah, and you've been in on all the things that have been talked about and all the different rabbit holes, I'm sure, that you've been down and up out of. But I know that has been something that's been discussed as long as I think I've been here.
Right.
Almost as long.
Radio works too. Now they developed the beach bash over the 4th of July. That's such a good idea, and that's another event that we have. In Worthington, and it seems like people, they come out and support that too. The Lake Association has gotten behind that, and they work with Radio Works on that, so another good event.
Let's talk about since you retired, have we covered enough of, we could probably do a whole segment.
We could do a whole
chamber.
segment. We haven't covered Krollsheim and the visit.
Yes,
there's so much to.
We'll talk about the Krollsheim sister city.
Well, we got into that. They have their own, again, organization.
Right.
But when they started bringing people here, we started out with 100 guests coming from Krollsheim, and so the chamber was very instrumental in finding homes for them to stay in, scheduling activities for them they'd be here for a week, so we had to schedule activities every day for them to do. And as a chamber and as a board, we felt it was just important for us to be involved in that, to keep that relationship going. And so Worthington people have now been over to Krollsheim. Krollsheim has been here a number of times. And actually back in 1989 seemed to be my year, the very first year that I was a director. We actually took a group of probably 10 people that went over there. They were having a trade show over there.
Oh, okay.
And they wanted Worthington to come and be a part of that. So we actually went over there and set up a booth and talked about Worthington, because you never know, are there companies over there that could possibly do business over here?
Certainly.
And so it was a very worthwhile trip for us. I don't think we ever really did get any companies, but we sure let the companies know what we have here if they ever needed us. And we knew to tell the businesses what's over there if they ever needed something.
Have you've been to Germany?
I've been to Germany in 1989 for the trade show.
Awesome.
Yep. We were there for 1 week.
Any plans to go back now in retirement? What are your plans? Travel?
Well, yeah, we retired during COVID.
Right.
So that was a hard time to retire. Our plan was to travel. We didn't get any traveling in. After that was lifted, my husband got sick. And so he was sick for like 9 months, so that took 9 months out of our life. But he is doing much better now.
Right.
But now we decided to go up to Moorhead. So right now we're focusing on the grandkids, their activities, and doing things with them. Because they're 5, we have a grandson who's 5.
Okay.
We have a granddaughter who's 9, and then another granddaughter who's 12. They're in a lot of activities, and we've been trying to go back and forth, and it's just was too much. because our middle granddaughter, she's in every sport that you can think of. And it's so important for those kids. They want to see their grandparents there.
They do. They look for you.
Yeah, they do. And with different things that have happened over the last couple of years with friends of mine and the people that they lost, we just decided, you know what? Our life is too short. We need to be up where our family is and just start spending some of our time with them. You know, we can always come back and see friends. As difficult as it's gonna be on June 7th to pull out of Worthington for the last time, which I feel like I'm in denial about that. I'm trying not to think about that.
Right.
You know, it's gonna be hard because this was home for me and this was home for my son for a very long time.
What will you miss most about Worthington?
You know, of course I'm gonna miss my friends. And we're gonna miss our neighborhood. We live in an older part of the neighborhood. We're on Wilbur Street. We've been there for 32 years. It has changed over the years because when we moved there, it was all business people that lived on that one street, one block street.
Okay.
We are the second to the last now of the original people there. But we're gonna miss that street in our home because it's a colorful neighborhood now. And we've gotten to know the neighbors, even though we have that language barrier yet. They'll bring an interpreter along, you know, and we can converse that way. The first day the sign went in our yard that it was for sale, it broke my heart. We had the neighbor lady from across the street come over. She couldn't speak English very well, it's broken, but she told me, she goes, "You move, I cry." She said, very sad. That just broke your heart.
Yeah.
You know, so even if you can't communicate that well, we all have feelings.
Right.
And
that
so
neighborly feeling translates, doesn't it?
it really does. And so that's gonna be sad. And then we just recently had a garage sale for the last time, I hope. That's so much work. But the lady 2 doors down, they've been in our community probably for 10 years, Hispanics. Still a hard time communicate, but she came over and gave us a hug and said, "We're gonna miss you." And that means a lot, you know? It really does. So that just shows you how we've all come together in this community. So I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss the festivals because they were always fun. All of the volunteers, I made so many friends. Just to go into a grocery store and not know anyone is gonna be difficult.
Because you know everyone here.
Right. Yep, you know you're right. When you say you're gonna go to the grocery store, I'll be back in a few minutes. No, you're probably back an hour later.
And it's mostly visiting in between
Exactly.
the aisles, right?
Exactly. You know, and Tom has gotten a good group of guys that he plays golf with. He's gonna really miss that because now he's gonna start out there with not knowing anyone. But we do have 2 good things about Moorhead. Bruce and Mary Wiesman live up there,
That's right. Okay.
and Sue Lewing is moving up there once she retires now on Friday.
Okay.
So she just stopped by yesterday. She's got her house. It's bought. She was putting away stuff. She brought me boxes, you know, for us. And so at least we know people.
So a little bit of Worthington up there.
A little bit of Worthington up there. That's right. And of course, your friends always say, "Oh, we're coming to visit," but okay.
Yeah, it's a ways up there.
It's 5. Yeah, it's 4-hour drive. But one of the things that we consider too when we purchase a home there, we have a lake home on 10 Mile Lake in Hackensack, and we're only 2 hours from there. So that's going to be good because with Tom we own a cabin with Tom's brother. He is 70, I better not even say his age, maybe 79 he'll be, but he has Parkinson's along with his wife, and so they can't do as many things. So at least now we can go up there and do more things with the cabin that normally Bill and Paige would be able to do. So we're hoping to relieve them a little bit of the work, because when you do have a second home like that, it is a lot of work.
It is, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Well, Darlene, Worthington's loss will be Moorhead's gain. We're gonna miss you here.
I'm gonna miss Worthington, that is for sure. It's very bittersweet what we're doing. So,
Thank you so much for sitting down with us, and please come back and visit.
well, Suzanne Murphy told me she has a room for me for Turkey Day. So right now, I'm coming for Turkey Day and hanging out with Suzanne.
Awesome.
So
Thank you so much, Darlene.
you're welcome. Thank you.